Hi, David. Thank you so much for taking this call.
Hi, Cindy.
And I just have a few questions about your interest in being on the board of directors with the Compassionate Friends. So the
All
first
right.
question would be, who will you be serving in honor of? And can you share a little about him or her?
Actually, three people. Primarily, my granddaughter, Bibi Briellen Bullard. Bibi died of cancer at the age of 4. It was very sudden. All happened in about 72 hours. So it was a real shock to the entire family. I guess the other two, though, I'm real honoring as far as serving on the boards, my daughter and son-in-law, because they've gotten so much from Compassionate Friends. As I said, all of this happened so suddenly, and they were really lost. And they were found the local chapter, the Compassionate Friends chapter, and it's really been good for them. And I'll never forget my daughter's response to her first national meeting in Chicago a few years ago. When I asked her, I said, "Well, how was it?" And she said, "Not long enough." So that
Oh,
pretty much told me right then and there. And so over the last few years, to kind of tie into, I think what you're asking is about our history. So that's really kind of where our history started. And the next year, she actually told me when she brought back from Chicago, she said, "Dad, there's sessions there for grandparents too. Would you go with us?" And so I can't remember if the next one was maybe in Dallas. But since then, I've also been attending the national meetings and have gotten a lot out of them, both from just from an organizational standpoint, but also the idea of being the grandparent where you're really lost trying to help your kids and grieve at the same time for the loss of for a granddaughter. So anyway, so I guess that's really at the last meeting in St. Louis. I've had a lot of years many years in nonprofit administration, and so I thought, okay, that's the one thing I can do. I'm not very good at anything else outside of being an economics professor. So I thought, well, maybe this is the one thing I might be able to do to give back for my kids.
absolutely. Thank you so much. And I think you just shared with us your history with TCF. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much, pretty much. They get involved from time to time. More Trey, my son-in-law, with the local chapter, but
Okay.
they are both very. All three of us then have gone to the national sessions, the national meetings. Then, really since Chicago.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then why do you want to serve on the TCF board would be another question.
Well, I think in a way, I kind of touched on that here. It's really, I've been a nonprofit executive for 30 some years, just retired a few years ago. And also in the world of economics and economic education before I became a professor here the last couple of years in my another life. I shouldn't say second, I've had several. But anyway, so, and as I mentioned, I kept trying to think, okay, how can I give back? And I'm really not very good at anything else. But it's the one thing I do know. And so I saw the table and I thought, okay, if you can use me, I'd be willing to do what I can do for the organization because it's certainly worthwhile. And it's certainly something that our family has benefited from.
Right. Thank you so much. And I think you kind of answered the next question as well. And if you'd like to add to it, feel free. But the next question that I had for you is
Um,
what do you hope to bring with you and how do you plan to contribute to TCF as a board member?
Well, I guess in a way I did answer that, and that's me in my 30 some years of experience as a nonprofit executive. I was a president, I was a chief academic officer for several organizations in the world of economics and economic education. So I'm familiar with the board work. I'm developing strategic planning and fundraising and
Good.
just overall executive management. And I know fundraising is a major part of any nonprofit, and it has to be. And I would expect that to be one of my one of our roles as a board member too. I don't know if there's the old adage, give, get, or get off when it comes to board members. And so I guess I kind of lived with that on the other side of the table. So I assume it would apply to me on this side as well.
Yes, I like that adage. And what is your hope for TCF now and in the future?
Well, I think primarily, Cindy, in the future, just to continue to grow and maintain and be available for those who need the service, unfortunately need the service.
Yes.
I remember one of my first conferences, and I don't remember who said it. It said, this is the one meeting none of us want to be at. And so the fact that we have to be there, that the organ as an organization can continue to offer up both at the local through the local chapters, but also nationally with the annual conference, a place for people to share. And I know my daughter, I always come back to my daughter because more than one occasion, as she always said, it's the one place where she feels really comfortable. She can be herself. She doesn't have to explain herself to anybody. And I know we all kind of have been in those positions at one time or another. And so for the organization just to continue to make itself available and have the resources to be able to make that happen.
Absolutely. Well, David, thank you so much for answering our questions tonight. And I'm going to stop the recording. And if you have any questions, you can ask me after the recording.
Okay, will do.